Red, white, and blue crusader destined to battle against the forces of tyranny for the protection of freedom. Today we are going to explore the tremendous legacy of Captain America on Comicology. So the year is 1941. The war in Europe is in full swing, but America has not yet to join the Allies. It's the month of March, summer, and it's finally turning into spring. This is the kind of environment that Captain America was born in. Of course, at the time America was not in World War II. That would happen actually towards the end of the year. But the writing was obviously on the wall. A lot of people understood, a lot of people knew that it was going to happen. The American public understood that it was only a matter of time before they would have to get involved. Regardless of America's political standing, villains like Hitler and the Nazi Party were big names in America. They made appealing bad guys for the common man to rally against. And for this reason, and mostly this reason alone, America started feeling a swelling sense of patriotism in its masses. This sense of patriotism allowed comic artists to cash in on the trend, and this is why they decided to invent the patriot hero. That's right, there were actually a great many patriotic heroes who existed in the Golden Age besides Captain America, but it was only Cap who really stood out and became mainstream. But why? I personally think Cap's popularity stems from his intense aesthetic, but also his fierce personality. Right here we can see on the front cover of his first issue, we see him exploding onto the screen with full force, and he's punching Hitler in the face while a room full of Nazis look on powerless. Not to mention his costume communicating strong American values. Anybody who takes one look at this image knows exactly where Cap is from, and exactly what he stands for. This is damn good marketing, in my opinion. But of course it takes more than a strong look to make a character into a success. He has also got to have something internal, something to keep him fresh. And I think Captain America does have that. His personality and his backstory are bold enough to be interesting, but definitely humble enough to be relatable. Allow me to explain. For those who don't know, Captain America started life as the young Steve Rogers, a poor Irish immigrant born in Brooklyn. His father died when he was very young and he lived with his single mother. So I was very interested to discover that Captain America was Irish because I didn't know Irish people could be blonde. So I actually Googled it and it turns out they could have all kinds of different hair colors, and now I feel like kind of an asshole. Anyway, Steve's mother did everything she could to provide for her son. However, eventually the strain would become too much, and Steve's mother would pass away from pneumonia. This left Steve alone as an orphan, but not entirely without hope. Steve became a ward of the state, and was taught by a vast array of different role models. He attended school in the Lower East Side, where he had a civics teacher named Ed DeCrosley, who instilled a strong sense of patriotism into young Steve. Eventually, Steve grew into an adult and desired to join the military after watching some horrifying war footage during a movie screening. He attempted to enlist, but was given the status 4F, unfit for service, because of his frail body. Of course, Steve refused to quit and was eventually approached by a member of the military intelligence who offered Steve a chance to fight for his country if he willingly became part of this secret experiment. Of course, Steve agreed and was taken to the secret laboratory, where he was introduced to all sorts of advanced technologies. He was also introduced to Dr. Erskine, who promised to turn Steve into the ultimate fighting machine. He agreed and was forced to participate in extensive training to measure his mind and body. This would ensure that Steve was ready to receive the final process in his transformation, the serum Dr. Erskine invested in, which could create a super soldier. It's important to note that at the time of the writing of this specific story, America was not a member of the Allied forces. They were at least not fighting in the battlefield yet, but fears of fifth columnists and of course domestic terrorists were a common thing for the American people, at least at the time. It's explained at the time when Steve was making his transformation into Captain America that the United States was under fire from hidden bands of Nazi spies. These spies were great saboteurs and were often blowing up important defense buildings to cripple the American military. In many continuities, this is the reason given for why the military was so adamant about creating a super soldier. You have to understand, it's not only giving them the fighting edge, but it gives them a way to combat fascist ideals directly, which were obviously infiltrating the American public. I mean, if you look at it now, looking back from where we are now in history, it really does make sense. How do you stop people from being sympathetic to Nazi ideals, especially considering how strong and intimidating they were appearing at the time? Well, you show them how strong an American can be, and you show them the merits of democracy. And that's really what Captain America is, and probably is the reason why he's been so popular for so long, where all these other sort of patriotic heroes who were there at the time kind of faded away into obscurity. So now we see Steve is finally ready to receive the serum. At first he seems to be ineffective, and then suddenly Steve sprouts the biggest muscles I've ever seen on a human. His transformation is complete, and he is now Captain America. However, there is an actual spy in the midst of the proceedings, and he has a weapon on him. He shoots poor Dr. Erskine and destroys what's left of the serum. He tries to escape, but Cap pounds the stuffing out of him with his new superpowers. So we all understand why they did this, right? Like, the idea they could only really have one Captain America, right? They couldn't have a bunch of them. They couldn't have a whole legion, a whole platoon of Captain Americas. It's in an effort to keep their main character as unique as possible. But of course, actually some of this would be retconned in the future. It would all happen in different ways. Certain people would find some secret stash of the serum and use it for some villainous purposes. Several major supervillains in the Marvel Universe would attempt to recreate the formula using Erskine's notes. It's a long-running plot that goes throughout all of Captain America's history. But for the most part, we're led to believe that this is it. This is the end of it. After this, the military puts Cap straight to work. Now that he has the body he needs to learn how to use it. He spends months training with the best teachers in the world to hone his mind and body to razor sharpness. So in the original continuity, it stated that he worked for exactly 3 months. That's it. And it was enough time for him to learn how to control his body and bring it to its peak physical shape. Of course, that's absurd. That can't possibly be true. It takes 3 months just to turn a civilian into a soldier, but that's just a soldier. That's not even Captain America. What I'm trying to say is it's not like they put Cap through basic and then sent him off to AIT. No, this training was a little bit more expensive, a little bit more complex than that. After ingesting the super soldier serum, Cap now has Olympic level strength, agility, dexterity, endurance, and stamina. He also has increased mental capabilities, including a photographic memory and enhanced sense of language. His body is also found to be capable of healing at a much faster rate than a normal human. So Cap is obviously very powerful. I mean, not as powerful as some of the other major characters in the Marvel Universe, but he's stronger. He's definitely above what a normal human could accomplish. But not only that, one of the things that makes Cap really interesting is he actually has a tremendous amount of skills that he learned while in the military. Cap is a martial artist. He knows acrobatics. Of course, he's a master of weaponry, specifically his shield, which he is a master at. He's one of the only people in the world who's mastered shield fighting. He's a marksman. He can use a firearm. He has studied and mastered a whole wide range of tactics and strategies so that he's useful on almost any battlefield. He has the ability to drive land vehicles, pilot boats, and fly planes. And he also speaks at least 10 languages that we know of. Also, many don't know this, but actually before Captain America joined the military, he was going to be an artist. He has a whole year of art school under his belt, and he is actually a proficient sketch artist. In fact, there was a time in his history, I think somewhere around the Bronze Age, where he was an artist, where he worked as a freelance artist for marketing companies, creating advertisements and such. In addition to all of this, Cap was given a special patriotic suit, which was designed to perform as armor plating. It has some kind of industrial strength weave, which changes in different continuities, but it protects against most blunt force trauma, cuts, stabbing, and is resistant to fire, but is only partially bulletproof. Large caliber weapons and armor-piercing rounds can still definitely harm Captain America. Then, of course, there is Cap's utility belt. It contains first aid supplies, cables for climbing and grappling, both smoke and concussive grenades, and a lockpick. Finally, the most important part of Cap's arsenal is his shield. It is a perfectly round piece of indestructible material by a metallurgist named Myron McLean. He was tasked by the US government to build an impenetrable armor for their tanks, but he was only able to come up with this tiny small piece of metal shaped in a perfect disc. Captain America found use for it as his primary weapon. The shield is made from a mix of adamantium, the stuff from Wolverine's claws, and vibranium, the stuff that makes Black Panther invincible. And it can never be reformed or remade and is definitely only one of a kind. Except, even though it is a one of a kind and cannot be remade, it actually has been broken. It is not entirely indestructible. There are several instances in comic book history, maybe 4 or 5, in which it has been broken, one of which was during a fight with Thanos. You know, it's an interesting plot device, you know. Whenever stuff gets serious, Captain America's shield gets smashed. But it's null and void because he always finds a new one. Somehow he always gets a new one. So who cares? So now Captain America is fully trained and he goes out on his first mission to stop some Nazi spies. He mops them up quickly, proving that the serum was a rousing success. Needless to say, these Nazis are shocked. The look on their faces as the guy wearing an American flag breaks into their lair and pounds them to a pulp, well, it's priceless. Unfortunately, during this first mission, a reporter happens to be in the lair and gets a good picture of Captain America. He then reports on the encounter and makes Cap into a worldwide sensation. Everybody knows about him, and what's more, everybody loves him. So now Cap is a celebrity, and the government decides to give him a secret identity to keep their, intelligence secrets safe. So he becomes a soldier in the American military, though he acts like a bumbling buffoon to keep the people off of his trail. This only lasts for a short while, however, because then the regiment's mascot, a young boy named Bucky Barnes, learns that Steve is secretly Captain America. Without a choice, Cap decides to bring the young boy into his secret and takes him as his young ward. So that's it. Now we have Captain America, and he has his sidekick Bucky, and at some point he trains Bucky to be his ward. That happens somewhere in between the panels. We're not sure. I'm also not really 100% sure what Bucky's exact training is. I might do an episode on that, but I don't know. But that's it. We have him, and he is here, and Captain America is going to stamp out tyranny and bring justice to the American people. So that's the full story of Cap and his origin, who he is and how he came to be. I personally love this. I love this origin. Honestly, at first I hated it because I just thought it was too simple. But the more I read into it, the more I realized it has a sort of subtle complexity to it. At first glance, you think Captain America is all about strength and power. It's all about military might. But it's actually all about freedom. It's all about freedom and sort of like these social interactions. That's the cool thing about Cap. He's not really interested in power as much as he is interested in service, in serving others. And that's cool because it means he's incorruptible. You know, you could give him all the power in the world and it would be well placed because his main concern will always be other people. It's like Cap understands the fundamental truth that freedom is nothing. It means nothing if you're not responsible. And that's what makes him a hero. In fact, I would say in many ways, Cap's life is an analog for the American dream that all of us sort of pursue. You know, he starts alone and he's weak, but by working with people on a social level, he's able to take advantage of certain opportunities and earn a better life for himself. He becomes free from weakness. He becomes free from loneliness. He becomes free from tyranny and fear. And when he gets his freedom, he then turns around and he uses that freedom to make the world a better place for all of us. It's to the point where I suspect when Captain America was created, he was sort of created as this prime example of how to be a good American. He is loving and respecting of all people, regardless of race, regardless of creed. He is immune to corruption from power because he's only interested in service. He is willing to fight to the death in order to protect human freedom because he knows that freedom is sort of the true path to human betterment, the true path to human sort of evolution. So I guess that's what all of this comes down to. It all comes down to freedom. In America, we all fight for our freedom, but we have to do with that freedom, what we choose to do with it is entirely up to us. You know, we can choose to serve others or we can choose to serve ourselves. I just hope that people can take a page from Captain America's example and use their freedom to sort of do good things for the world. So that's it. That's all of Cap's origin in a nutshell. His life is looking good so far, but things are about to get a little bit darker. Remember when I told you that Cap was created to combat the evil of the Nazi spies? Well, in this next issue, some of those Nazi spies are going to catch wind of Cap's legacy and respond with a villain of their own. I mean, of course, I'm talking about the Red Skull. Who doesn't know the Red Skull? So, if you liked this episode and you want to learn all about the Red Skull with me coming next time, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to read more comics with you. Also, if you can like this video and possibly share it with some of your friends, so we can all learn about Cap's legacy on how to be a good American. Also, if you really want to support me, I do make comic books of my own. I just finished my first fully produced by myself and some freelance artists. It's called Vigilance. You can see it right here. You can have access to the digital versions. Those are already released right now. You can find them on heroicnerd.com. It's a really good book. I like it. I loved making it. It's about a vigilante who goes to New York and sort of wipes out crime there, but with a crazy alternative motive. So get it now. Get it now. It's pretty good. I love it. I honestly love it. And issue 2. Issue 2 is going to be coming out soon, so get number 1 while you can. But that's it, everybody. Okay, it's time for me to go. I appreciate all of you being here, and I will see you all in the next one.